So today we're looking at a profound concept called the two deaths. The two deaths. You could look at it as your two deaths, in fact, the two deaths of every human that walks the planet or that has ever walked the planet. This concept details the first death, which is the moment that we physically die. That's a pretty obvious one, isn't it, for most of us? But there's also a second death, and this one is, in my eyes, just as crucial. And it's the moment that we fade from memory. The idea then that a person can die twice is pretty fascinating in some respects, and really moving if you reflect on your own morality and how you want to be remembered. The physical death is inevitable for us, for every single one of us, despite what science might promise in the future. But the second death, the death of legacy, is something we have more control over. Most of us understand the physical death, don't we? We've probably had people in our family that have died. Maybe it's our pets, or you've just read about history and how many people have died in wars, etc. It's a natural end of our body's existence. But there's obviously the second and less considered death. That death comes when people stop talking about you, when your name ceases to exist in the conversations and memories of the living. For many people, this happens within a generation or two after they pass, doesn't it? Once their friends, their children, their grandchildren, and maybe even in some cases their great grandchildren are gone, their name can fade into oblivion. Take an example of John Smith. When John passes, his friends and family will obviously grieve. They'll be at the funeral. He'll have his whole, ceremony. They'll tell stories about him and they'll keep his memory alive. But as people pass on, the people close to him pass, his kids pass, his great grandkids pass, his great 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 grandkids pass. The photos may be there, but his existence does begin to soon fade, doesn't it? Only a few may remember his name. And maybe they'll only know his name through a gravestone, a record in maybe a family tree, or an old photograph, as I've said. But eventually, even those traces will disappear. And that is his second death. He no longer exists within the realm of history, consciousness, or the universe. On the other hand, think of people like Aristotle, Muhammad Ali, Genghis Khan, Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, Mike Tyson, to name but a few. Figures whose legacies can transcend generations. Their names, the contributions they've made, their ideas live on long after their physical bodies have left the world. These individuals avoid their second death because their impact continues to echo through time. As Marcus Aurelius would say, there echoes through eternity. What we do now echoes in eternity, assuming it's worthy. That legacy keeps them alive in the collective consciousness of humanity. So, why does legacy matter, or why is this important? Why should we care about this second death? Well, legacy offers a kind of immortality, doesn't it, in itself? While the physical life is limited, on average, I don't know, 70, 80 years of age, depending on the country you live in, the impression we leave on others through our behaviors, our actions, words, or even ideas can extend our presence far beyond our physical existence. A legacy can be positive and it can contribute to the well-being of current and future generations, or in fact, it can be damaging and you can be infamous for it. And we can probably think of many dictators that have lived on, but through bad means. And that's often, just to take a quick side path here, that's often why people do bad things because they understand that they can't leave a positive, lasting legacy on the earth, and they realize they're going to die. So what they do instead is they do something so bad, so barbaric, so disgusting that at least for them, they're someone who will always be remembered. But coming back to the positive side, when we leave a legacy, we're not just living for ourselves. We're ensuring that our life mattered, that we had a purpose, that we had a life that was significant beyond just our personal experiences and hedonistic activities. So the question is then, you're going to have the first death, as does everyone, but are you good enough to have or to never have a second death? And in order to do so, we need to understand what kind of legacy we want to leave. Now, not everyone's going to be, your Aristotle, Muhammad Ali. It's not all about the fame or global recognition, but it's about the impact that you have on people around you, in your community, and maybe on to a wider audience, and the values that you pass on. What do you want people to remember you for? What principles will carry on through your actions? Leaving a positive legacy is not just about creating monumental achievements, but it's about living a life of purpose, compassion, integrity, and all of the moral virtues which we'll cover at some point. Here are some ways you can ensure your legacy remains a positive one. You act with purpose, you know your values, and you live by them. Your actions become aligned with a larger purpose, something that people can remember you for. Another one might be to contribute to others, whether it's mentorship, philanthropy, or simply just helping those in your immediate circle. Charity starts at home, doesn't it, as they say? There's no point in trying to change the world if you can't even change yourself. When you realize, and this might be a bastardized version of the quote, by the way, when you realize how difficult it is to change yourself, you'll realize how difficult it is to change others. But you should try and leave an impact and ensure your legacy will live on through them, maybe. Religion's a prime example of this. People still follow religions from years ago because the impact is so great that it transcends generations, and people even dress and wear jewelry that conforms to that ideology. They're teachers who shapes the mind or shape the mind of their students, pass on life lessons, and the ripple effect can influence many generations to come. Another one would be to build something meaningful. It could be a business, an organization, a family, even your own religion, whatever it's going to be. Steve Jobs, Apple, he will be remembered forever because of his innovation, not just creating the company, but for the actual fundamental changes that we have. It's not all of them positive, of course, but on the whole, a very useful piece of kit, technologically speaking. Your creation doesn't even have to be global like that, though. Just maybe a local community that you start, maybe you're writing a book and your name lives on. It might be inspiring change. Many figures who are remembered long after they've passed did so by being agents of big change. Martin Luther King, obviously civil rights, Marie Curie for advancing science, and Muhammad Ali again for reshaping boxing, possibly. And you could talk about Lionel Messi, Maradona with football, of course, or soccer for you American and Canadians. But yeah, the status quo is to leave a lasting mark on society, isn't it? Another way to leave a lasting legacy is to think beyond yourself. Nelson Mandela once said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead." The reason businesses are successful is not because they think about me, 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 me. It's because of the change they make to you as a consumer, whether it's a service, whether it's a product. Think about how many people have been influenced. And I don't know why this one's come to mind, but it again, you can't control how the mind always thinks short term like that. Netflix. Think how many films people have watched together, how many relationships have been built, how many laughs people have had together, how many people have texted about, oh, Netflix and chill, or have you seen that new film that's coming out, or have you seen that series that's coming out? I can't wait for it. Think of the impact it's had on actors making money, the impact it's had on Hollywood. That one simple idea for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to £15 a month now with obviously the additional packages. And obviously they've now advertising. So the impact on advertising, people being able to pay to get their products out there to a massive audience. These changes have a huge ripple effect on society. And that's where the second death or lack of second death comes in. So, what are the practical steps then to build your own legacy? You should live intentionally. You should ensure your daily habits, even your interactions, your decisions, the way that you think, all reflect the type of legacy you want to leave. Think about how your actions today shape the way people will remember you in 2 hours, a week, a month, a year, a decade, and even 65 generations down the line. Tell your story. Don't be afraid to share your experiences, good, bad, or indifferent. Your experiences, your lessons, your failure with others. A lot of the podcasts people like listening to from motivational speakers and athletes are their periods of failure and how they overcame it. Maybe you write a book about it, start a blog, or record a podcast. Obviously, like this one, it starts somewhere. Maybe I want to not have this second death. Maybe I want to live on forever. Who knows? Be consistent. Legacy is not built overnight. It's a result of consistently living according to your values over time, whether it's working towards your goal, standing up for what you believe in. That consistency builds trust, and trust builds legacy. The legacy of the greats, that's how you should think. Do I want to be known as a great? For me, life is like a tale. It's not the length, but the quality or how good the story is that's important. Jesus died at 33, but he's had a much better, you know, impact on the world than you have at 50 or whatever your age. Not, Aristotle wrote extensively on ethics, politics, and philosophy, laying the foundation of Western thought. His ideas have been discussed for millennia. Tesla, his vision of electrical energy and the radio and all these other inventions changed the course of human history. Now, these individuals didn't seek fame for fame's sake, did they? They ensure they pursued excellence in their chosen fields because they are driven by the purpose and passion and a real intrigue with that particular area of existence. Their work contributed to the progress of humankind, and that's why we remember them. There are some famous quotes. I mean, I love a quote on legacy. Muhammad Ali, don't count the days, make the days count. Steve Jobs, Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And another one is from Aristotle. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Now, to conclude, really, it's ultimately how you will be remembered is up to you. If you want to be a nothing, a nobody, a piece of dust in the wind, a single grain of sand in an endless universe, go right ahead. But if you want to be someone who leaves a real impact, something that cannot be missed, something that's so big, so amazing that people will talk about it for centuries. It's not up to you to tell people how great you are. The great people get told. Imagine how many times Lionel Messi gets stopped saying, "You're amazing at football." Just think about it. Ronnie O'Sullivan, everyone who sees him, "Oh, mate, Ronnie, you're amazing. You're great. You're the GOAT." You don't need to tell anyone anything. J.K. Rowling, she doesn't need to tell anyone my Harry Potter books are pretty good. People talk about it every time she gets seen. Oh, I love Harry Potter. It saved my childhood. I love the stories. When you're good at something, others will tell you. You do not need to beg for validation. And the same goes in life. And this is again a slight sort of off ramp or off piste. Is you should pay attention to what compliments you get often. People do not give compliments out lightly. And if you're getting the same compliments over and over again, oh, your cooking's amazing. You're really good at speaking. You're really good at sales. You're really good at maths, whatever. That's something that you should look to pursue. And maybe that is something that can help towards your legacy. Are you going to be someone who lets your memory fade away with time, like a leaf disintegrating in autumn? The choice is yours. Every day is the opportunity to write your legacy, whether you're creating something tangible or simply impacting the lives of those around you. Maybe it's thought experiments, maybe it's theories, ideas. And this will echo beyond your physical presence. What kind of echo do you want to leave behind?